Hello, Memorial basketball fans. I'm Charles Strayer.
And I'm Teddy Harless.
And the playoffs are in full swing here, boys. About to get started, and the girls are already on a roll. So let's get started here, as the girls are your regional champions once again.
Yeah, you know it. That was exactly what we expected and what we were supposed to do for this girls basketball team. We were better than both the teams we played, and we showed it. Some averages that really stood out from those games are 46 to 13 points in paint and 18.5 to 5.5 transition points.
And going forward, those are categories we're definitely going to need to excel at. It's all about those fundamentals with our team, and I think it really goes to show that one of the strongest facets of this team has got to be that transition defense. It's been so stifling, and that's in large part due to Marlee Ferguson, who once again shone in shutting down the big player for the opponent. Awad Alik did not get anything going with meaningful minutes in the game against Oshkosh North to kick off the playoff run. So I think that that's something that, especially for her, but as a whole team, we have been just doing excellent at. So going forward, that's something to look for.
Yeah, we've been doing a great job limiting those star players. Marlee Ferguson, like you mentioned, but even when she gets substituted out, we have other great defenders that we can send to those matchups. I saw in the game against Oshkosh North, when Marlee Ferguson was out, we were seeing primarily they would send Ashlyn Schroeder in on defense, and that can't be a good sight for a star player, thinking you're out of the woods, thinking, oh, my defender subbed out, and then you have to be guarded by Ashlyn Schroeder. Like, we just have so many good defenders on this team that we can really take a star player out of a game if we set our minds to it.
And as we're going to get into here, that's something that we're going to need going forward, especially as we get deeper into the sectional round. There are going to be some big names. One in particular is foremost on our mind for Nina. However, before we go into that, Norah Kling had another excellent game. She's been doing really well in those high-stakes situations this season, and as a freshman, no less. She tied her career high with 30 points against Marshfield to help the girls clinch the regional final, and she was 11 for 15 from inside the arc, so she did just an excellent job. And really, as the future leader of this team, as many see her to be, this is really excellent to see her in the playoffs just really finding her element.
Yeah, she is doing an excellent job. She is a big game performer for sure.
Absolutely.
Always stepping up to the moment, and that's something I hope we can see going forward and will be important to a deep run in these playoffs and possibly state tournament, is the continued performance of Norah Kling.
Yeah, and speaking of that state tournament, we are getting close. We are now 2 games away from getting to the state semifinal. However, we've got 2 opponents in our way if we're going to clinch sectionals and get ourselves all the way there. First on the docket is Nina. Nina is a strong team and a strong conference, and they've got a little bit of everything. However, as we kind of like to see out of some of these higher caliber opponents, there is one person you can attribute a lot of that success to.
Yeah, Rowan Klesmet has been doing an excellent job for them. She's a junior, has 22 points per game and 12,000 career points, and she shoots 38.6% from 3. She's a little bit of a smaller player, only 5'5", but she's still quick, fast, and she's able to jack up some threes. So she should be a great threat to see, but we have the defenders, I think, to match.
And not to worry any of you out there, she has only scored 1,200 points, not 12,000.
Oh.
So, not to worry, she's not going to be she won't be dropping a couple hundred on us this time. However, her importance to the game cannot be understated. Nina is going to revolve around her quite a lot. And like you were getting at earlier, there's definitely a sense of depth to our team that you don't really get to see a lot, even at the sectional level, where we're able to get in a lot of quick rotations. Coach Fanning does a really nice job of keeping everybody fresh and just keeping new girls coming into the rotation, it makes it hard for the opponent's defense to really get into a rhythm, really shut down a particular player, because they don't know where the next barrage is going to come from. So I think we just kind of need to turn that on its head if we're going to take down Klesmet and this Nina offense.
Yeah, it should be very exciting to see. And what should also be exciting is this sectional final we have coming up against either Appleton East or Spash. And no matter who we play, it will be one of the only two teams we lost to in the regular season.
And it is really just an exciting opportunity, especially with a season as successful as this one. You kind of wanted it to be this way, where we get a chance to get revenge on one of the only teams that was able to hand us that elusive L this season. So Appleton East, in particular, we saw that game kind of get out of control, where we had a 12-point advantage about midway through that second half, and we went over that in a lot of detail back when it happened. We had a good game plan going into that one, but we simply couldn't quite close out on them, and they started really lighting it up from three. So just like against Klesmet, if we're able to take down Nina, we're going to need to keep that tight perimeter off defense in terms of that mindset we're going to need to go into that one for.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's just important, too, that no matter who we play, we keep our foot on the gas.
Oh, absolutely.
We saw, like you said, we had a 12-point lead there, and we just sort of eased up a bit towards the end, and it ended up coming back to bite us with a loss against Appleton East. If we play against Spash, though, I think it'll come down to Rhea Shaw, that matchup she'll have against Swabert, and some help defense from down low, from Schroeder, from Welsh. I think that should be a good key to that game.
Yeah, and that's something we've seen really come to fruition over the course of this season. The help defense and the team-minded defense is extremely strong. Like we talk about setting those traps in transition, that's definitely an eye-catching aspect of it. But also just being able to adjust down low when somebody like Miley Covey, Ellie O'Keefe, some of those quicker conference players, if they drive the lane, they're able to beat their original guy. There's always somebody there ready to fill that interior space, whether that be Raina Welsh or even, like we said, Ashlyn Schroeder really flying around there. That's definitely something that we've done well, and I think should we excel at that, we've got that sectional championship. So a long way to go for the girls. However, we are in fighting form right now, and they have been great to watch.
Yeah, and I think no matter who we go up against in this sectional final, even though they're both teams that were able to hand us a loss earlier in the season, I like our odds a lot against both of those teams, because I think Appleton East, going into that game, we weren't expecting them to be quite as good as they were. We got caught by surprise a little bit. If we see them again, I don't think we'll be as caught off guard, having played them earlier in the season. And against Spash, that was way back at the start of the season. We still had players out. We were figuring out what to do with these new freshmen we had on the roster. I think our team has changed, evolved, and grown a lot over the course of the season. So if we see Spash again, I think it could look like an entirely different game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying about that young talent, that especially has come so far since the start of the season. So going into the sectional round, I think it's going to be a little bit of the old guard and a little bit of those new faces should we come to the precipice of state.
Mm-hmm. And then that should be really exciting to see some good basketball for these girls coming up. But moving on to boys basketball, we got 2 wins in this last week against Central and Menominee to close out our season undefeated in conference play and go into this playoffs with some momentum. And we covered the North basketball game a lot on our previous video, so if you want to see a preview of that game, I would recommend you check out that video. But stick around for a while, because we're going to go in depth a little bit onto the game against Wausau West or DC Everest that we will be playing this Saturday.
So in our initial bracket prediction, we did give Wausau West the edge over their rival DC Everest. However, after a little bit of consideration here, just letting the chips fall at the end of the regular season, we have determined that we think that DC Everest will hold the slight advantage in that rivalry matchup going into this regional final. So we predict that should we beat North, we will be likely facing DC Everest. However, there is a good possibility it could go either way.
Yeah, for sure. And no matter which way it goes, really, I think the biggest key to victory is just to keep cool and don't treat it like the playoffs.
Yeah.
We've played DC Everest before this season. We beat them. Wausau West, I don't believe we've played, but they're a similar caliber of opponent. So either way it goes, we just got to keep cool. Remember, we're the better team, and just go in there like it's any other game.
Precisely. I think a lot of that is going to come down to our ball movement, which I think some of the strongest aspects of our play has got to be that passing. It is so electric. You see it a lot with these guys. We've talked about it from our preview episode of the season, just how in tune with each other these guys are, having played together for so long. And that is especially evident at the back half of the season. You're seeing so many passes that are just finding the targets perfectly, able to cut through the defense like nothing. Even some of those stronger opponents are completely caught off guard because the ball movement is quick, it's precise, and it's concise. There's not a lot of fat to trim off of this offense, and I think that is going to lead to a lot of success here in the postseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if we had to point out just a key player from each team that we might want to send a lot of focus their way, for DC Everest, Cade Felch had 21 points, 50% from beyond the arc in his game against us. So that's someone we might want to look out for, see if we can create a little bit more of a new game plan to slow him down come playoff time. And against Wausau West, Griffin Lange, their star player, has 13.8 points per game, 5.9 rebounds per game, 4.0 assists per game, and 2 steals per game. And he leads the team in all of those categories. So he's really an all-around player, and that's the guy who we have to look out for their team, just because he's so good in every category.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think it's just going to come down to, can we recapture what made the regular season so triumphant? You look at the game schedule and the final scores; they speak for themselves. This has been a triumphant year for the boys, very similar to how the girls have done. So it's just a matter of, can we, like you said, not even treat it like playoffs, just keep getting into that focused mindset that we have been for these past couple dozen games, and then just keep it rolling all the way into the sectional round.
Yeah, it should be a fun week of basketball. Boys looking to capture the regional championship, girls looking to make it to state and become sectional champions. Just lots of good stuff to watch, and make sure you all stay tuned. And, as always, go Abes!
Hi everybody, I'm Aidan Rickert, Eagle Eyes, Other Guy. If you're interested in more MHS sports content, be sure to check out our TikTok, Instagram, and check out some of the other videos on our YouTube channel. And while you're at it, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more. Go Abes!